Good morning, Tony.
Tony.
I said good morning, Tony.
Okay, no, you won't call me Tony. I'm not those people. You call me Mr. Lumelu or Theory. You won't call me Tony or Chairman. That is, I don't subscribe to that kind of Oyibo life, okay? All right.
Good morning, Mr. Ilumelu. So my question is, how do you know if you have to keep going?
Of course, welcome back to Rubbing Minds. If you are as chronically online as I am, it was hard to miss that exchange between the group chairman of UBA, Tony Ilumelu, and a graduate trainee at their graduate management accelerated program recently, and of course how a seemingly simple greeting of good morning Tony sparked a wider conversation about how Nigerians communicate, especially across age, status, and professional boundaries. Now, for some, the reaction to the greeting reflected a society that's becoming too rigid about professional etiquette. They argue that in the modern workplace, people should be able to address one another by their names, regardless of age or social status, as long as the interaction remains respectful. To them, professionalism should be based on competence, conduct, and mutual respect rather than traditional titles. But another school of thought sees the issue differently. For many Nigerians, particularly those raised within certain conservative cultural values, how you address someone is an important expression of respect, age, seniority, position, and social relationships. And we're seeing how all of these have been traditionally influenced, whether someone is addressed by their first name, surname, title, or an honorific, such as Sir or Ma. The debate therefore raises an interesting tension between the Nigeria we were raised in and the Nigeria we are becoming. Are traditional forms of respect becoming outdated, or are we losing important aspects of our cultural identity in the name of modernity? There's also the question of context, by the way. Is calling someone by their first name automatically disrespectful? Does the answer change depending on whether the person is a colleague, a boss, an elder, a client, a public figure, or even a friend? And should professional environments operate by universal standards of etiquette, or should they accommodate the cultural expectations of the society which they operate? And perhaps the bigger question is whether respect is contained in the words we use or in the way we treat people. The Good Morning Tony conversation gives us an opportunity to examine the changing rules of respect in Nigeria and the tension between cultural expectations and modern professional practice. Joining me here are two very competent people on Rubbing Minds this afternoon. Tokpe Daramola is an HR specialist. Good to have you here, Tokpe. How are you?
Thank you very much.
It's good. It's good. How are you doing?
Very good. I'm excited to be here and to discuss the topic that is trending and to give perspective around it.
It's great. Idowu Babiro is also an HR specialist. Good to have you here, Idowu.
Thank you. Good to be here.
So, guys, first of all, your initial reaction to the video, what was it? Would you think the chairman's response there was an overkill? Do you think that the lady should have known better? Just a quick one-off. What was your initial reaction when you saw that video? Did you wince? Yeah. All right, talk about you can start.
Okay, so when I saw the video, I'm a Yoruba man, and my Yorubaness in me screamed, you know. But I understand context, and like you said, so it's and I also understand Tony Elmelu giving, you know, her, he said, call me chairman, call me TOE, because he was in the environment, you know, and he had a right to speak to what I wanted to feel at the moment.
So listen, the thing is, we've evolved over the years and so on. And you work in HR. What is, in your experience, what is typically common now in corporate Nigeria? Is it first name basis? What is currently going on?
So what is currently going on is usually first name basis.
Oh really?
Yeah, based on the policy.
Okay.
Address your colleague by first name, and usually it's just to help foster effective communications among your line management, colleagues, and everyone in the organization.
Okay, but does it delineate respect, or what exactly is, why is it something that, because I don't want to go into the details of what has already happened. It's been flogged throughout the week, but what I want to know is, you know, looking, especially because we're having a younger workforce coming in now, right? Leadership is still of a certain generation, so these conversations are always going to happen, and I want to know that the cultural expectations here, has it changed? How do we become more conscious of what's happening?
Okay, I would say for the workspace, we call ourselves first name basis for different reasons. One of the reasons is for psychological safety. We want the ability to feel safe at the workspace, regardless of your hierarchy. As long as you're an employee, I call you first name basis. But that's the rule on paper. And in some organizations, right, there is the dominant culture, right? There's the culture written in paper, and then there's the dominant culture. Our goal most times is to try to see that the dominant culture and the real culture, active culture are aligned. But in most organizations, it does not align. So what I expect from the young ones is the ability to read the room. So you know what you feel and what you believe in, but your ability to manage stakeholders, people above you and people and peers is very critical. And one of it is understanding how to break the ice. If you call me Mr. Topper now, I have no problem. But if I get it from someone like Tony, who is in his 60s, getting from a 20-something-year-old, who his daughter is most likely older than, he's feeling, no, don't call me that. So I think that's a good way of finding the balance. Yeah.
You make a good point about context. Yeah. I think that's what people have been saying, because we have seen interviews of Tony Elumelu outside of Nigeria where he was called first name basis, there were no problems.
Yes.
And so on. But obviously, and keeping that in mind, that a lot of younger Nigerians are also working in globalized spaces now. Some of them work for global companies and report to people who are not even based in Nigeria, who don't have the same conservative values, if you like, that we grew up in. How do people consciously make that transition in today's world? The mental gymnastics there must be pretty hectic. Do you get complaints from younger people?
Yeah, so having worked in two international firms,
yes,
basically how it works is, firstly, is just to ensure that when you are having such conversations, you're free, you can be explicit, express yourself to the best of your ability, because the idea is if you're going to use sir and ma, it then becomes like a barrier in the communication. I used to have a director who I had gone to his office and said, I think it was good morning sir or something, and he said, you just spoiled my day. And I was like, my director, how did I spoil it? And he was like, you just use sir for me, and that is when I knew that, okay, so for some certain people, you can use sir, and if they actually do correct you, you then go back to what is acceptable. But for someone that you don't know, someone you're meeting for the first time, I would say it's best to play safe and use the salutation, or just use the title, because imagine you can't even use the initials, you can't use I know you said use TOE and all that. If you don't know the person, if you've not established what
it's hard to know.
Exactly.
Alright, thank you. So we're going to go on a quick break here and return with the conversation here on Rubbing Minds and explore this a bit more. This is Rubbing Minds, and we're still exploring this conversation about the modern workplace and respectability politics and so on. And I was speaking with two HR specialists here, Tokwe and Ido. And Ido, you're making a fantastic point about how director of yours said you're supposed to say because you called him sir. And so I want to bring you in here. There's also a problem of how we were brought up, and I'm talking about even in schools. You go to school calling your teachers auntie and uncle, even though they have no relations to you. And I've heard of kids who traveled abroad and did that to same teachers, and people found it odd, because different values and different setups. But let's look at the conflation in terms of what happens in the private sector and what happens in the public sector, right? So in the private sector, and I understand that's where you both play hugely, it's easy to say first name basis only. What's your experience in the government sector? Because imagine somebody who's like level 17, 18, or a permanent secretary. Do you want to call a PAMSEC by their first name? What's happening here?
If I might take one step back, I would like to, culture is the way we do things, right?
Good.
And then respect is a two-way thing. So I must give the action, which is for somebody to feel good and feel politely attended to. So if it's a two-way street, right? In the public space, the construct is such that it's very hierarchical. So you do 3 years, you get promoted, 3 years, you get promoted. So the thing that goes very in line with age, and that because of that, you are able to then, put SAMA. Then it's also appointments. So I'm in my 40s now. If I go to a place where people are in the level 17 in their 50s, they will call me sir. Do you know why? Because the culture in that place, the way they do things there, allows them to, and it's okay. But in the private sector, it's performance driven. It's not by age. So we go from the angle of, call first name basis, let us break these barriers. But as we now then go up the ladder, we then start realizing when you're managing, relating with board members, you're relating with executive management, you have to start being careful, because at that time, again, response is about the two-way. You must ensure that your presentation is, how you present yourself helps you get what you want, So if sir or madam or chairman or first name is dependent on the person, on the receiver. So as long as the receiver is okay with it, then we go along with it.
Some people would argue that resulting to first name basis in certain workspaces, no matter the age person is or so on, is us perhaps eroding certain cultural markers, like you've mentioned.
Yes.
What do you make of that argument? Are we losing the way we've always done things in this whole, or modernizing the workplace, and people should not?
So I would say that we're not losing our cultural heritage. We're trying to put in systems and modalities that ensure that people somewhat see themselves as equals, not necessarily eroding the hierarchy.
Yeah, because they're not equals.
So what I'm saying is, at the end of the day, we have something in HR called line management and your span of control. So knowingly or unknowingly, you know that you're reporting to somebody, and the person that you're reporting to also reports to someone else.
Yeah.
Now, the sir and ma is not even the definition of respect itself. The way I talk to you, the way I respond to you, the way I carry myself also shows respect in its own light. So that's what I would say to that. And it's not, at the end of the day, we're not saying that both of them cannot play in the same space. As Tokwe said, you have to read the room, right? There are people that will be very fine with engaging them on their first name basis, and there are some people that you would just have to relate with them based on salutation and initials or their titles.
In your experience, Tokwe, how many of these cases do you come across?
By cases you mean?
Yeah, cases of people not the first name basis. Some people refuse to get used to the idea of calling their superiors by their first name.
Yes,
they refuse to.
Yes, I can explain why. Culture in Nigeria is, for instance, we have 6 regions.
Yeah.
We act differently.
Yeah.
For the Yorubas now, if you are in your family sect, you are able, you call brother, sister. But when you go out of that to the Igbos, they don't say brother, sister, but they're very respectful. It doesn't mean that they're not respectful.
Yeah.
But so the context is very important that we look at the context. I've seen a lot of it, and what happens most times is that employees get to a space and they're scared, right? Because their culture and the dominant culture is clashing. So what do we then need to do is that for line managers and HR to let people see what the dominant culture is, and then permeate it across the organization.
You make a very good point about dominant culture, and I know we've stressed the point about traditional cultural expectations and modern professional standards, but I just want to ask either of you, both of you actually, because Nigeria is evolving, our workforce is also evolving with the entrance of younger and younger people. We're a very youthful population in that regard, right? So should respect then be defined by our traditional cultural expectations or by modern professional standards? Talk about you go first.
Okay. Before I answer that question, I'd like to say something about hierarchy. Okay. We always confuse hierarchy and respect in the workplace. Hierarchy is there to make decisions made very fast from the line of the organization, and also to solve problems, right? You faster for decision making and problems. Now, to your question,
yes.
I think that as people evolve, right? Our generation now, we have a lot of us in Canada, we have a lot of us in UK. We are living in different exposures, we are living in different realities. We're going to dilute the culture. There's no how. It's going to dilute. But what we should ask ourselves is what is key to us. What culture matters to us. The Japanese, they have the Eastern people, they manage their culture. The people in the West are a little bit dilute. We then have to decide what do we want, and what we want, we keep it and to pass it from generation to generation as what is critical to us.
Do you want to add something to that?
Yeah, so if there is one thing that organizations usually use as part of their core values, is usually respect, right? So it's very core to our tradition and the way we work. However, we understand that there would be interference from probably exposure, traveling, that would then interfere in how we work and how we do things. We are not going to entirely erode our culture. However, we're saying that as the generation move, currently baby boomers are most likely out of the workforce. We have the generation X, who are just within probably top management and all that. You have the generation Y, who are
millennials,
Z, and you have the generation Z. At the point where most likely generation
Alpha,
where generation Y are the ones at the helm of the affair, you will notice that a lot of these traditional things, it would play down on it and all that, and whereby the Gen Zs will now have probably better relationship and all that. Exactly.
Indeed. Tokwe Daramola and Idowu Bamiro, HR specialists, joining us on Rubbing Minds today. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.